The words slipped from the little girl's lips so softly, yet they struck like thunder. "Can you be my mommy?" she asked, her eyes wide, fixed on the young waitress standing by the booth. Her father, seated across from her, froze mid-breath. The question lingered in the diner's air, weighty and fragile. The old place hummed with its usual sounds. The faint buzz of the neon sign above the counter, the low murmur of the coffee pot, the flicker of fluorescent bulbs casting light over cracked red leather booths. Outside, the Vermont night was unforgiving. Snow swirled in restless spirals beneath the yellow glow of a street lamp, each flake drifting like a lost ghost in the wind. It was one of those nights when silence wrapped the town tight, forcing people inside to seek warmth, food, or company if they were lucky enough to have it. Behind the counter, Chloe moved quickly, though there was no real rush. She was 24, with pale hair twisted neatly into a bun, though strands escaped to brush her tired cheeks. Her shoes were worn thin at the soles, her watch strap fraying at the edges, but her uniform was clean, her posture disciplined. She carried herself as though keeping stillness might keep her from unraveling. A few minutes earlier, her phone had vibrated in the pocket of her apron. She had read the message while rinsing the last of the dinner plates. It was short, but the words cut deep. "Chloe, your grandma asked for Emily again tonight. She didn't know who you were." For a moment, Chloe had stood by the sink, hands dripping, staring at nothing. Her grandmother, her anchor, her only real family, was slipping further into memory's fog. The woman who once braided Chloe's hair and called her, "my sunshine," now thought she was someone else. Chloe blinked hard, forcing tears away, and inhaled deeply before stepping back into the dining room. Grief would have to wait. It always did. At the far end of the diner, in a corner booth, sat Nathan Hale. 35, tall, broad-shouldered, wrapped in a navy wool coat, he looked every bit the part of a man used to command. But the lines around his eyes betrayed fatigue, and in the hollowness of his gaze lay an unspoken sorrow. Across from him sat his daughter, Maddie. 5 years old, with wild curls the color of chestnuts and eyes like clear summer lakes, she was restless in the way only children could be. She hummed while stacking sugar packets into towers, glancing now and then at her father, who stared into his glowing phone as if it could shield him from the world. Chloe approached with a notepad and a practiced smile. Her voice, though tired, carried warmth. "Good evening. Welcome to Maggie's. Can I get you something to drink?" Nathan looked up briefly, his voice clipped but not unkind. "Coffee. Black." He gestured toward his daughter. "And milk for her." Maddie's eyes lit up as she looked at Chloe. "Do you have the kind with the cow on the carton?" Chloe chuckled gently. "We sure do," she replied, jotting the order and retreating to the counter. As she poured the coffee, her mind drifted back to the nursing home, to the image of her grandmother smiling at a face she no longer recognized. Her hands worked automatically. Pour, carry, deliver, but her chest ached with memories. When she returned, Nathan's phone buzzed again. With a sigh, he excused himself and stepped outside to take the call. Chloe set the drinks down carefully. Maddie studied her with open curiosity. "You have pretty hair," the girl said suddenly. Chloe smiled faintly. "Thank you, sweetheart." The child grew thoughtful, her legs swinging beneath the booth. Then, in a voice filled with a sincerity that only children possessed, she asked, "Can you be my mommy?" The words rooted Chloe to the spot. The tray in, her hand quivered. She stared down at the little girl's face, so hopeful, so innocent, and for a moment, Chloe's chest forgot how to rise and fall. When Nathan returned, brushing snow from his shoulders, he immediately sensed the strange stillness. His gaze darted between Chloe's pale face and his daughter's expectant eyes. "What did she say?" he asked quietly, though some part of him already knew. Maddie turned to him and answered with perfect clarity. "I asked if she could be my mommy." The words hit Nathan like a blow. For a moment, the walls he had so carefully built around his grief trembled. He met Chloe's eyes, and though neither spoke, something shifted in the air between them. Later that night, the drive home was heavy with silence. Snow pressed against the windshield, muffling the world outside. Nathan kept both hands steady on the wheel, his jaw set. In the back seat, Maddie had fallen asleep, clutching her tattered doll, the last gift from her mother. The echo of her question haunted him. "Can you be my mommy?" It was a child's voice, but the weight of it burrowed deep. He told himself it meant nothing. Children said things without thought, without understanding. But another voice inside him whispered differently. Maddie had seen something. A gentleness in the waitress's eyes, a warmth he had not been able to summon since his wife's death. Nathan's chest tightened as memory flooded back. 6 endless months of hospital visits, the smell of antiseptic, the beeping monitors, and finally, silence. His wife had fought until the end, but when she was gone, she had left behind 2 wounds. One in him, raw and unhealed, and one in their daughter, who had been far too young to understand but not too young to feel the absence. When they reached home, Nathan carried Maddie inside, tucking her gently beneath her pink blanket. He lingered in the doorway, convincing himself again and again, she's only 5, it's just a fleeting thought. But when he returned hours later to check on her, he heard her whisper in her sleep, arms wrapped around her pillow, "Miss Chloe, Mommy." Nathan stood frozen. The wound was no longer hidden. It had a name. Across town, Chloe sat beside her grandmother's chair, listening as the old woman hummed a lullaby. "Emily," her grandmother whispered with joy, "you came back." Chloe smiled faintly and didn't correct her. She tucked a shawl around her frail shoulders, letting the illusion stand. Later, alone in the quiet kitchen, Chloe traced the frame of an old photograph, her parents smiling, holding a baby in their arms. Both had died in an accident when Chloe was 10. She had bounced from one relative to another until her grandmother took her in. And now, even that bond was fading. But life has a way of weaving paths together. Over the next weeks, Nathan and Maddie returned to the diner, becoming familiar faces at a corner booth. Nathan was reserved, always ordering the same coffee, but Maddie's eyes always searched for Chloe the moment they entered. Despite her efforts to remain distant, Chloe found herself softening, watching Maddie with a fondness she didn't mean to show. The connection deepened in small ways. A cough one evening led Chloe to brew a simple herbal tea for Maddie. A bouquet of lavender, left anonymously on the counter the next morning with a note of thanks, brought tears Chloe hadn't expected. Slowly, without words, threads were being woven between the 3 of them. And so it continued. Reading sessions at their home, cookies after lessons, Maddie leaning against Chloe as if she belonged there all along. The child began to call her, "Miss Chloe, Mommy," a mix of names spoken with complete certainty. Each time, Chloe's heart melted a little more. Nathan noticed too, quietly, carefully. He did not press, but he did not ignore it either. For him, it was both frightening and hopeful to see his daughter's heart begin to heal in someone else's presence. One crisp morning at the park, Maddie confided her dreams, of a faceless lady who smelled like flowers and warmth, who hugged her tightly but never spoke. "I used to think it was just a dream," she said softly. "But then you came, and I knew it was you." Chloe's chest tightened at the words. Nathan, watching unseen from a distance, felt something inside him crack and shift. His daughter had found the connection he alone could not provide. Life, however, complicates even the gentlest of bonds. A letter arrived one morning for Chloe, a scholarship to Boston University. A chance to pursue the studies she had abandoned. A future she never thought possible. It terrified her as much as it thrilled her. For days she carried the weight of the decision, never mentioning it to Nathan or Maddie. At last, she convinced herself the kindest thing was to leave without goodbye. She packed quietly, left a note on Nathan's porch, and boarded a train before dawn. As snow fell outside the window, her suitcase by her feet, Chloe stared at the empty platform. Her heart ached with everything she was leaving behind, even as the train's whistle signaled the unknown waiting ahead. Dash dash dash.